We are currently being given an opportunity on the planet to truly be a version of us that can change this planet for good once and for all. So, if you're listening to this message and you're asking, how can I really support the ascension and evolution of humanity? I invite you to start by doing anything that you can to love yourself so much. Love every single part of you. Love and accept every single part of you. You need to go on a journey of healing and self discovery that's allowing yourself to love even the past that you have judged and really creating that wholeness inside of you and ending any wars that reside within you. And then you just watch as your direct life will start to change and you start to spread this message with others. As you love yourself more, you will be a permission slip for others to love themselves more too and love each other. And then see as this becomes a ripple effect that truly changes this planet. So if you're asking, how can I help this world, especially at this time right now, there depending where you look, there can be so much pain in the world right now. Know that love yourself. And how is it that you love yourself even more is through looking at the thoughts that you're having and not to guilt trip yourself. If you're having thoughts that are really difficult and you may take you some time, you may need some mindset work, you may need patience, it may take a few weeks to change those thoughts. And then looking at the words that you are speaking to yourself and to others, and then look at the actions that you are taking daily. So look at all of that. How can I change that? And know that by doing so, you are doing a huge, huge, huge part to support not only yourself, your loved ones, and also humanity at the highest.
Life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Life is but a dream. Yeah. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Praise the Sun podcast, where I am once again honored and happy to bring on an amazing channeler today, Rubia Lacerda. This is going to be amazing. I love having channelers on here. There's always such high vibrational knowledge, energy, wisdom coming through. And yeah, I love interacting with people who channel. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Hi, Ruby. How are you?
Hello, praise the sun, Sage. Thanks so
Praise the
much
sun.
for having me. I'm doing very well.
Praise the sun. Yes, wonderful. So, um, for the people who are not familiar with you and your story, could you briefly tell us about your upbringing? Like, how was your childhood? How was life for you growing up? What influenced the spiritual awakening, if you will?
I grew up in a very small country town in Brazil and had a pretty normal life. You know, my parents were together, and although from a very young age, I just felt a bit different and quite sensitive. And I remember one of the first questions that I was asking myself was, if my parents didn't meet in human form, does that mean I wouldn't exist? Oh my god, it's such a miracle that I exist because they got to meet, then I exist. So I had all these questions from a very young age. And yes, and then life, being a normal teenager, until I then started to get quite mystic experiences during my sleep. So I couldn't sleep properly. I was tapping into a different timelines during my dreams. Of course, I didn't know that. I came to learn this a few years ago, and connecting with other beings, usually hybrids. I thought they were humans, but I only recently found out hybrids. And then I would wake up. So during my sleep, I could tap into other timelines where I was connecting with other beings. And yeah, that was around 14 to 16, and came into a really young age, around that age, to discover that I had mediumship abilities. So um, being Brazil, there's a lot of religions there. There's a religion called Spiritism. So it's not like super out of the normal. It was a little bit out of the normal, but not as it would be somewhere that you don't have Spiritism at all. And yes, and then I started learning about it and reading more. And that's when my abilities really started to come out. And my parents were actually quite supportive for me to find out what was going on because it was affecting my sleep. But yes, I went to university, and a few years later came to Australia, where I've been living for a while. So it was a pretty normal life, you could say, apart from the experiences that I was having.
Wonderful answer. Thank you. What so what would you define timelines as for the audience? What how so they can like imagine that in their mind? Like what are timelines?
Um, so with timelines, you could say that there are multiple timelines happening simultaneously. So there is a timeline that I'm here now having this conversation with you, and there's a timeline that I am traveling somewhere else, or there's a timeline where I'm not doing this work at all. And during our sleep, we can access different timelines. So if you were to believe in the concept of multiple realities, that would be, so I was tapping into and a specific timeline where I could connect with other beings. And because for the human body, for the human ego, the mind, it can be way too much for the nervous system. Usually, these beings will make a connection when you're in a trance state or when you are sleeping. So, which means you're tapping into a different timeline.
Wonderful. I always love talking about the timelines because it seems to be something that's very prevalent in the current our current I guess media. I would say if well that's if people are tuned into stuff like Marvel movies and stuff. They've been talking a lot about the multiverse and stuff, and I always wondered, is that God or whatever people call the God consciousness, is that kind of pushing the awakening process of, hey, there are multiple realities. It's not just the one that you're perceiving. There are more. So I always wondered if there's like some type of insemination of thought within the people who make the movies. Like they think they had that idea, but it's really they're tuning into the higher power that's trying to push out this knowledge and wisdom. That's always
Mm.
interesting to me. So, are you still able to observe different timelines? And if so, how does that look to you?
Not to the extent that it used to happen to me when I was having those very vivid dreams, because that's when my abilities were really, well, I say vivid dreams. That was how I explained it back then, because my abilities were really waking up. Nowadays, it's more in the way that when I tap into a different timeline, is knowing what are the possibilities that are out there, not only for myself, but also for the planet. So there are timelines on planet Earth right now that there is no war, there is no famine, there is no um, chaos the way that it does in the timeline that we are experiencing right now. Um, Especially if you turn on the news. And for some people, they may live right in the middle of the jungle and where they have no access whatsoever to the external world, the timeline that they live in. There is a time, the timeline that they are in, there is no war at all. And there is a way for us to step into those timelines through individually and collectively. So I talk a lot about the realms because I find the realms that we tap into are really important. So we currently on planet Earth, you have the lower realm, the middle realms, and the higher realms of existence. So we are co-creating those realms, and we are strengthening or weakening them through the thoughts, the emotions that we are having, the conversations that we are having, the words that are coming out of our mouth, um, and the actions that we are taking. It's how we are. So we get to choose which realm am I going to anchor myself in today, and the conversation that I'm going to have, and the change that I'm going to bring into the planet, so that the more people can anchor into those realms, which then eventually the lower realms and the middle realms will no longer exist, or no longer have such an impact on the planet like it does right now.
I love that. Thank you. That's such a cool and interesting way of viewing everything. I always I ask a lot about the way that people perceive of these things, because I can't remember if I was dreaming or channeling or meditating or what, but I remember I had the desire, intention within me to view, I guess, reality from outside of time. So you can see like multiple streams of time. And when I did, I saw it kind of like how the brain and the nervous system is branches like trees, like there's little nervous systems. I guess that's how I saw it in the universe, and it made sense because the thought came as above, so below. So of course in our brains it kind of spreads out like a tree, and timelines are kind of like that, where there's a main timeline and then it kind of branches out. And I always ask channelers like, is how does it appear to you? Because I just want to know from cross referencing what was I observing, or do other people kind of see it, and to other the timelines in a way where there's like multiple kind of ones, and there's like a main one that kind of like a tree. But it's just a curiosity thing, honestly. That's how I learned, I guess. So
Yeah.
so channeling, how did you get into that? Like, how did that become something that's you like, yeah, I can do this? Like, what was your introduction into it?
So around that age, when I was 16, I was told by somebody that had been following the spiritism religion that I had mediumship abilities and that I was a medium, that I was going to be able to yeah, channel. And I remember going to a spiritist center, and I was just participating of the session. So I nothing happened, and but I went there and I learned a lot about afterlife, and there were many things that I was learning, which was great. And then after I came to Australia, I was just living a normal life, and I just knew that the ability potentially was there, but I wasn't really doing much with it. And until when was it? In 2015. I started to studying and doing a few courses, counseling, healing. And in 2018, when I started to put this, I call this mission out there, helping people, supporting people. I was a healer and a counselor, and I remember during that during sessions with people, I could feel that there were messages would come through. I could feel people's guides, but I was always way afraid of sharing anything and people thinking I was making it up. I wasn't even sure if it was real. I was like, what if it's my mind? I had all of those questions. So as I continued working as a counselor and a healer, I could feel that there was something else that wanted to come up, and I had an experience where I saw the Arcturians through my third eye vision, but I wasn't ready yet. I told them to go away. And in 2020, I had a full time job. I was still working, and there was a number of synchronistic events that happened that led me to allow them to come through. So I started channeling a couple of years before just on my own, and I could feel an indigenous guide coming through from my background in Brazil. And as but I would just do it at my own time. And then in 2020, after all these synchronistic events, I decided, you know what, I will try. And I let a being come through, a cosmic being come through, and it was the Arcturus, and it was the first time that I channeled them, and and then the rest, and here I am.
Wonderful. I love that. So when the Arcturians came through, did they introduce themselves as the Arcturians, or did you kind of like intuitively know just automatically that it was the Arcturians?
Interesting question, because I didn't know it was the Arcturians for quite a few months. So what I do when anytime I would do a healing, this day was a little ceremony I did with a friend. I always call in guides for protection, connect with creator energy. And I said beings of light and of the light only. And I could feel that it was a different energy from the indigenous being that I had been channeling. And I just had a sense that it was galactic, although I didn't know exactly who it was. And I asked, and they said, you will discover in time. So I went on a journey to actually discover. And then I would say, why you're not telling me exactly who you are? And it was then so that I could share this story with people, because I was really tested on my trust. and also tested on my trust in myself and in them, and going and enjoying the process of finding out who they were. So I remember hearing one day Arcturians, and I was like, and I Googled and I look at a photo that was on Google. I, because they can look different, but there was just a resemblance, and I just felt it. And in that moment, I knew it. So I had to really trust that when I went on that to discover that journey of discovery, whatever came up, I had to trust it, and then I could really feel it, and then I received confirmation from them as well.
I do. I definitely love that because it reminds me a lot of my initial experience of feeling that consciousness energy because initially I became aware of like the Pleiadians and that was really interesting to me. But then out of nowhere, I start really feeling a pull to Octurians. Like I was obsessed. Like I literally bought two books that I think it was like connecting with Octurians or something like that. It was like two series. I can't remember if the guy was channeling or he was talking about it, but I was like, something here is pulling me to these to this name, so that always resonated deeply with me. And I always love hearing about people's experiences with them. Have they ever told you how they live, their culture, or do they have physicality, or are they just existing as pure energy?
I It's interesting because we have never gone to that depth, or I wouldn't even say to that depth. We have never gone into those conversations. It has been purely they come through, bring through messages, support us, support, if we're having a session, if you're having a group session, supporting people, and then they go. And there had been times that I channeled them just for myself, but it was specifically for something that was happening in my mission at the time. If I wanted to do an event here, or there were different things that they would support me, and we never had those conversations, interesting enough. And I have asked them, um, someone may have asked a similar question when I was channeling them. And as far as I remember, they said something along the lines of, "Our sole purpose here is to support humanity at the highest, co-creating with Rubia through the work that she does, and through removing programs and beliefs and that are not serving, and teaching about the timelines and the higher and the realms of existence, specifically for that, because I know that there's a lot of channelers that are able to actually bring through a lot of information about how they look, where they go, where they live, and there's even books about that as well."
Fascinating. Um, So, how has channeling changed your life? Like, since you began channeling, how has it changed your life? I know it's a little bit of a broad question, but whatever you feel is good.
Well, changed my life a lot. Full transparency, I was not following any channelers. I may have known of Abraham Hicks. Until a few years ago, I've known of Abraham Hicks because they're quite popular and well known, and a lot of their messages out there, especially about abundance. And it's not a world that I was into. I was more into the self development world and the healing world. So when it came about channeling, I said, "Cool, this is something that I can actually do." Then I've always had a connection with, I call them light beings, or our cosmic star families, and I love them, and I'm going to channel because this is the thing that feels in most alignment with my soul calling. And when I started, I realized that then I discovered how many people out there actually love channeling, connecting with these beings, and how many channelers there are actually doing similar work. So it got to a point that the more that I started to put myself out there and to share about my message, and I would talk about coming out of the galactic closet, I started things started to expand really fast, and it went to a level where I was featuring in podcasts with hundreds of thousands of views. It has been incredible to be able to share my message, and the message of their students, and support people at a larger scale. And there was just a little part of me that it kind of happened super fast, and there was a part of me that was like, whoa, is this actually where I wanted to go? Is this the path that I want to follow? Because it's when you start to reach a larger audience and your message starts to reach a lot of people, a lot is required of you. And when I say a lot is required of you, there's so many components to that. And one of them, it's like being in the highest integrity, making sure that the channeled message is of the highest integrity, and that the mind is not letting my own perception of light to come through the message. Because at the end of the day, the message is coming through a human. And we all have opinions and biases about things that we believe in. So having so much integrity, and what it has actually taken me to, because for me, I have always said, how can I support humanity at the highest? It has actually put me on a path of a spiritual awakening. The more that I expanded, then I went right into the spiritual awakening. And I would say that I'm kind of on the other side of it now. But let's say, I was a butterfly. I was what's the word before you become a butterfly? And then I'm just learning how to fly with the new wings, which is this version of me. I had to go through this journey of a spiritual awakening to make sure that I am indeed serving humanity as at the highest as a channeler. So now I understand the I personally believe that it comes with a big responsibility, that you are, one, going to be channeling these beings, and two, that you're going to be reaching people at a global scale.
Caterpillar turns into the
Yes.
butterfly. I got stuck too. I was like, wait, what is it? Yes. Wow. Yeah, I loved everything that you just said, and you are absolutely right. With a bigger audience comes the need for you to be the best version of yourself, essentially, because there's, with a louder voice, with a lot of amplification of the things that you have to say, there's going to be a lot of love and support and light, and there's going to be a lot of, of the opposite side, and negativity and stuff, and you have to be grounded enough to handle both of those things. So I understand that completely. Is it so the direction that you are now, and how much you've grown? Did you even imagine yourself getting to this point of like reaching so many people, and so many people being interested in hearing what you have to say and reaching out to you?
Um, yes, I actually I started to see many years ago that I saw my voice reaching the world. I had an experience where I was in deep meditative state, where I could see, and I could see as the observer. I was the observer, and I was observing this Rubia avatar, Rubia Lacerda, voice reaching the globe. And I was far from that happening when I started to have these visions, you could say, or these insights. So I knew that that was going to happen, although I didn't know when. And when it does happen, there was a part of me that was a little bit like, oh my God, it's happening now. And there was a period of time, because it happened also more when I was right in the middle of a spiritual awakening. So it was a little bit overwhelming, and yeah, just had to have systems in places where I could tell people that I wasn't available, or I have minimum availability. And yeah, so it all worked out. But yes, I did have an idea. I knew that it was coming, although when it does come, it's like, wow, it's here. And now what do I do now? And I agree, 100% agree what you said about the importance of being grounded. And at the end of the day, remembering who I am, and this is such an important message for everyone, in remembering who I am, regardless of what the external world is giving me feedback. What feedback the external world is giving me, whereas that's the positive or the negative, because the positive can get me into much pride, or look at me, wow, I'm so amazing, and the negative can get you into shame. So you want to make sure that, like, you're sitting in the middle. Yes, I am so grateful that this person, these people are grateful for my message and that I am supporting them rather than making it about me and being too proud. Or if there is negative comments and messages, not allowing that to get to where I am shaming myself. See, I shouldn't have done this. I can't manage these negative comments, and just saying it has nothing to do about me. It's just their own perception, and they are projecting whatever it is that's inside of them, projecting it on the external, and it happens to be me.
I love that. I laughed when you were talking about the compliments because that's exactly how the mind, the ego structure work. Especially when you're getting like good stuff, you're just like, oh yes, I love that. Thank you. You're just taking all those compliments and put it in a pocket, and But it's important to stay grounded and yes, not make it about you, but just kind of channeling the words, the message, the information that the person needs to hear, the world needs to hear. So, I love that you said the avatar that is Rubia. So, working with those ideas, how do you see yourself as you are going through life? Like when you're communicating, like for instance, with me and you in this conversation, is Rubia just something that you kind of pick up to interface with people? And then when you're done with that, you kind of put it down because you kind of exist differently, or how does that work for you?
Um, no, I to be very grounded here. This is me. So this is Rubia, and I'm doing. It's not something that, like you said, I pick up for the interview, then I put it down. No, it's what you see is what you get. So this is me being me. Of course, I'm in a podcast interview. There's a certain conversation that we're having. There's a certain um, behavior. For example, when I finish and I go out into the living room, then my cat's going to be there, and I'm going to put on my cat voice and talk to my cat and be cute and funny. So I would say more like the personality traits that change depending on the circumstances and the people around. And to add that, it's more when I feel like if I'm going through a really hard time or like observing myself, that's more the cases where there are moments that I have to stop and become the observer and think say things. For example, I am having the thought that I should be doing A instead of B. I am having the thought that I should be teaching in a program right now and that something's wrong with me because I'm not. And is that a thought correct or not? No, that thought is not correct because it doesn't matter if I'm teaching now, if I'm teaching in 3 years' time, because it's time is an illusion. And whatever it is that I'm going through now, if I am resting now, it's okay to rest. I'm resting for a purpose, for a reason. So, more coming into that observer seat when there's turmoil or when there's chaos. And also, if certain situations come up that would put you too much in that ego state. For example, I can notice that I am feeling really, really happy because of something external constantly, rather than being in a happy, joyful state first, so that then whatever is it on my external reality, it's an add on. So that those are the times that, the extreme times. So more of the extreme because I believe, you have the pendulum, and if you're pendulum too much in one end of the extreme, so too happy, too excited, or too sad, too depressed, those are the moments that I like to observe to bring a little bit more balance and be in the middle.
I love that you use that analogy because that's literally the analogy that I use as well when I describe the emotional states that we can go through. Is the pendulum swings, and it's just a matter of staying grounded because there are going to be happy moments in life and there's going to be really sad moments in life. But to stay grounded is to be the observer of whatever the circumstance is. So I love that. Thank you. Um, have there been any biological changes in your body that you became aware of since opening up to channeling and those type of energies?
Um, Interesting question. Biological changes. Well, I potentially overdid it at the start, which then it got me a little bit more tired when I say at the start a few years ago. And then eventually I got tired. I could feel that my body needed a little bit more rest. And I had to make sure that, I was really, really looking after my physical body. And it got to a point where I haven't channeled for about 5 months. So I actually got to a point that I had to fully rest. And but I wouldn't say biological changes any others, more in the sense that my body said, okay, now we need to rest.
Wow, 5 months is a long time. Oh wow, that's interesting. So, for people who might not be too familiar with channeling, what are the common misconceptions that you've heard about channeling since you began channeling? What are the common things that people misunderstand about it?
Some of the misconceptions are that we know everything, that channels know everything, that we have access to all the information that we need to get, which means that I can have whatever I want because, I'm going to get the winning lottery numbers. What else? Another misconception is I've noticed, especially after I decided to have a break from channeling, is that a lot of people, and if you, side note, if you research, quite a few channelers do this. I've known of a well known channeler that was off channeling for about 12 months. And he's back channeling now, but he had 12 months that he wasn't channeling. And another one that I have noticed is how people will put channelers and the beings that they are channeling on a pedestal, as in, oh, they have something that I don't. They are amazing. They're able to connect with these beings. It's like, wow. And they also put the beings on a pedestal. Like not only the channeler, but the beings have access to something that most humans don't. And I personally believe that that's a huge misconception because every single human will have access to a lot of information which is inside that we are able to access wings inside. So a lot of people are trying so much or wishing that they could be channeling. When I say, how does your intuition work? Focus on that and allow yourself to receive that way. The more you nourish the way your intuition works, the better it gets. So really, and what happens when we put channelers and the light beings on a pedestal, we are creating more separation. So it's very important that we are seeing that people are seeing channelers and the beings as equal. They okay, look at Ruby, it's great. She has a gift that I don't have, and I have this gift that she doesn't have, and we are all sharing our beautiful gifts with the planet. So I would say those two things. Yeah, the misconception that we know everything, and yeah, being put on a pedestal.
Thank you. I think that's what I've seen the most as well. Is especially the one where they think the channeler know everything. That that one always I usually see that one, and I always feel I guess sad for a channeler because I'm like everyone else just doesn't understand. They just don't get it. So I can understand that. So what from your experience of everything that you've learned, what could consciousness be described as? Yeah.
Ooh, consciousness. Well, that's going to be a bit of a channeled answer because I can feel what's coming. What comes? The first word that comes through when you ask that question was God. So some people call God, Creator, Source, whatever word that resonates most. So for me, God comes through. So consciousness is how we are able to experience all that is. So if you look from the perspective that we are fractals of God experiencing itself through this human form, and we do that through the consciousness that keeps us alive. And it's interesting because the other words that are coming through, it's almost like there are no words that do justice to describe consciousness. Because consciousness is a thing that if you close your eyes and you tune into your heart and you feel all that is, and you feel what consciousness really is, it's almost like it's a feeling rather than it's something that you describe, that you understand through your heart and through your feelings, and or not even through your feelings, through feeling, rather than something that you're able to fully put into words. Does that make sense?
Yes,
I feel like
absolutely.
th-
No,
feel like there's so much more I could say about consciousness, but then what comes up is like, but it does no justice to what it actually is.
I understand that completely, 100%. And every time I think about it, I'm always reminded of what Bashar said once when that question came up. I believe he either said infinite potential or infinite possibilities or something like that, but it was just infinite, and I understood that, because if all that is consciousness, then it literally is everything, and one word would never be able to do it justice,
Mm.
so I completely understand that. Do you feel that's a bit a part of some of the teachings that kind of come through, not necessarily from you, but like, is that something that people are trying to begin to understand, like what is consciousness? Is consciousness reality itself? Some stuff like that.
It is one of the things. I feel like there are really people have really big questions and things that they really want to understand. And consciousness is one of them. And when if someone is working with me and they will ask certain questions, or if I'm channeling those questions are asked to the beautiful light beings, a lot of the times the way that we answer is, for what purpose do you want to know this? And most of the time when I ask that question, the people's answer is, good question. A lot of the times people are asking these questions and going out there looking for answers without knowing truly and deeply why are they asking those questions and going out there looking for those things in the first place. They know, but they haven't stopped to think about it deeply. That's why they'll say good questions. So I always say, whatever questions about God, the universe, consciousness, awakening, um, enlightenment that you may be having, it's always asking, for what purpose do I want to know this? And the reason why I love the question, for what purpose, because a lot of the times it will take you to the root, a root belief that may be anchored in fear or in scarcity, um, and we want to make sure that it's coming from a place of love and abundance and light. And the beautiful thing of discovering if it's coming from scarcity or fear, for example, is that then we can dig and find why is that there, and how can we shift that belief of fear and scarcity into love and abundance, for example.
Wonderful. That's yeah. I love that. How how does channeling work for you? As in, like, how do you experience it? Is it a trance state, kind of like Bashar? I know there's other types as well. How do you experience that state?
So when I channel the Arcturians, well, in the past, it was in a trance state, similar to Bashar, although I don't go as deep as Bashar. I am pretty sure that Daryl doesn't. I've watched an interview where he said that I'm pretty sure he doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't remember most of the things that Bashar is channeling because he is in such a deep state. Whereas it's almost like for me, I take the back seat and I am here observing and I can listen. I am listening to what the Arcturians are saying, but I don't have a control in what they are saying. And um, I may remember afterwards most of the things they said, but I may not remember, if you ask me a week later. And at the moment, if I am channeling, I am conscious channeling. So there are some answers that, there's some things that I'm sharing here that I'm not really thinking about it. It's just coming through. It's coming through me and it's just channeling. Because I always say this to people. It's like when you are doing the thing that you love the most. I love having these conversations. You are in a channeling state. So when someone is singing or dancing or any art. Is like channeling is channeling your art, something that your heart loves doing. And the reason why I said in the past, that's how I used to trans channel, and now moving forward is to be, I'm discovering, there is a way for me to channel the Arcturians without going into a trance state. So that's what I am looking with moving forward, but I don't know yet. It's coming. I'm receiving that information. We are chatting to see what's going to be the best way moving forward for, yeah, for channeling.
Thank you for that. So I'm interested to further understand the direction you want to go in. Do you feel like it resonates more with you to not go into that deep level, and you kind of want to stay here and eyes open and talk, or is there a reason why you want to kind of switch the style?
um yes, at the moment, this is the way that resonates the most. And the reason is because it has been very eye opening while I haven't been channeling, very eye opening to observe the people's response and reaction to the channeling. And I find that without the going into a trance state, it's not only more grounding for the channeler, so for me, but it's also more grounding for people, and it's creating less of a separation. Um, and I find that for someone that teaches channeling as well, I find that teaching people channeling their own way, it's a lot easier than teaching them, for example, to go into a trance state, because there are so many things that you need to be mastering before you go into a trance state. So that's how the thing as well. How is your body? How is the health of your body? Are you meditating? How is your mind? Are you overthinking? How are your thoughts? So there are quite a few things. And I personally believe that it can be a big responsibility. Um, so, and yes, so I prefer the a way of not going into a trance, because then that's more grounding.
And I completely understand that because, I mean, even simply sharing a video, with someone who might not even be into channeling, but they see this person in state, like, for instance, sharing a Bashar video. Bashar is very charismatic, and people will be like, "What is this?" But like, to people who love this, I can't get enough of it. I love it because I'm always so fascinated with, like, how charismatic you can be in that surrendered
Mm.
state. So yeah, I always find it interesting. So yeah, thank you for that. I completely understand. And it I can see how people can also be more grounded if you're doing it in this state as well, because they can I can see how someone could make it into a hierarchy thing in their mind, in which you're the god or whatever, and you have all the answers, and maybe that I don't believe that I'll have the answers. I can see how that could possibly empower people as well. To go into your teachings, what are some of the things that you teach, and what are the ways that you teach them? Is it kind of like group sessions? Do you go to events, or how do you teach?
Um, so my favorite way of teaching is usually with group programs. So I can teach a group of people for during 3 months, for example. And what I'm usually teaching is about channeling and intuition, and I go really deep. So a lot of the times people coming to the course with an idea, like anytime that you sign up to anything or you're going to watch content, a video, you have an idea of what's going to come through. And yes, people get some of what they had an idea, and then a lot of people say, wow, I wasn't expecting this, and this has been really helpful. Because I always, one of the questions that I ask if people want to join one of my programs is, for what purpose? So as they start going through their purpose, I can then identify what is happening in their world and why they have that need. And so I work a lot as well. I teach a lot as well about the unconscious mind and the conscious mind, and how the unconscious patterns are creating their reality. And we go into a little bit of healing as well, healing those core wounds and ancestral trauma, childhood trauma, so that they can then um, create a reality that's in alignment with their soul's calling, or with their soul. I do one-on-one sessions as well, and like, but when it comes to teaching, I love doing in a group setting, because then it's so powerful, because people are sharing, and then they realize, through hearing other people's sharings, they realize that they're not alone, and that most people are going through very similar things. So it's very powerful as well.
Great. Yeah, that makes sense to me. The group and individual sessions, and why they're even doing it in the first place. What are some of the common things that you see people struggling with? And maybe not even the people that you work with, but like, I guess maybe even on a general basis of this planet, like what are the commonalities that people are struggling with? Yeah.
Mm. Well, there's two things that comes to mind that I see this pattern, but I see it a lot, is relationships. So relationships with other humans, or whether that's on a relationship level, as in love, in a partnership, and also with friendships, and also with people doing what they love and making money from it. So I'll just see people where their relationship with money, and how they are putting their gifts and abilities out into the world. So this is something that I really see. It's quite deep. The people's relationship to others and to money seems to be a big thing. Um, and at the end of the day, if we really we look really deeply, it is just the external reality and our relationships, and the way that we relate to other beings, and we relate to other energies such as money. It's an external projection of our internal state, which means that we are still resolving uh, quite a bit of inner conflict. As we resolve our inner conflict, then our wounds and our traumas, then our external reality with these relationships and with energies, strong energies such as money, then they start to change as well. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because a lot of people that are going through this, they are continuously looking outside for the fix, as in, I continue to attract this type of people. This person did this to me. It's too hard to make money doing what I love because of these reasons. Whereas it's like, if we look within and we continue to heal within, then the outside has no other option but to change.
I understand that completely. Well, so from your perspective, what is the dynamic that human beings have with money? Is it kind of just a energy thing to you? Like money is just energy? Like what is it that we're creating in our mind about money that's kind of creating these resistances?
Well, there are huge distortions that have been created around money, especially with spirituality and spiritual people. I've said this in a live once. If you're a healer, and there's not even university degree for you to put your to bring your soul gifts into the world and support people, but you can be very judged for asking for that exchange of money. Whereas if someone needs a heart surgery, everyone will gather and do a funding to get the money to pay doctors for that heart surgery. So and you would say, I say that with healing, it's like it's a surgery of the soul. It's so transformational. So there is, I call them distortions around money in spirituality, and because we have placed money as an object, but money is an energy, just like love, just like light, joy, abundance. And it's about shifting the perspective and looking at money as a beautiful energy that is the vehicle of creation, the vehicle that it can be the vehicle for so many things. And like everything is neutral. So it's not money that is the problem, because a lot of people say it's the problem. It's the consciousness behind it, the consciousness that's using the human that is using it. And it also comes down to our frequency. So what is the frequency that we are carrying about money? So if I have a frequency that I judge money, I judge people with money, I judge people that have spiritual services and charge, there's all these judgments around money. Imagine that money, it's a consciousness. Imagine if it was a human. This is an exercise that I have taken people through, and many other teachers take people through, is imagine that money was your boyfriend and your girlfriend, your partner. How is it that you talk? How is it? Are you being super needy, or are you being really judgmental of it, or you don't want anything to do with it? Imagine that. Then start healing that relationship. And remember that is the frequency. So the frequency that you're on, plus the action that you take, the aligned action that you take, will equal the amount of money or not that comes into your life.
Great answer. I love that. Thank you. Um, how can how can we be more like empathetic and forgiving as people? How can we create a deeper sense of forgiveness within us, whether it's forgiving someone who's done us wrong or forgiving ourselves for doing wrong to others? How can we create that deeper sense of forgiveness within?
Um, when it comes to others, the more that we forgive ourselves and we have that level of empathy and compassion for our own self, we're able to do that more to others. And if people struggle to do that to their own self, just bring through their inner child. So imagine you're 5 year old, and would you forgive that 5 year old? And then forgiving that inner child, starting young, and remembering that we are all doing the best we can with the tools, resources, beliefs, and programs that we have at the time. Um, so it's really important to look through those lenses, because people really are doing the best they can, and starting with self. And for me personally, going through a spiritual awakening, because I went through pain that I never went through before, it had actually gave me access to empathy and compassion that I had never felt for people before. So you can ask, I want to have more empathy and compassion towards other, but be careful what you wish for, because can be really painful. Because sometimes, in order for us to discover those depths, we need to go through pain to get there. And like, in my case, it was that, not all the time and not for everyone, but in my case, because I was always a very high energy, super excited person. I hadn't gone through anything that was super difficult, and then there were days that I would just feel sad for a few days in a row, and I was like, wow, I thought you just do some breath work, go for a nature walk, talk to some friends, and then you feel better. And that wasn't the case. And then I asked, my soul, my higher self, why is this happening? It's like, so you can feel it, you can feel what a lot of humans feel, and a lot of the times you have no control. So it's having giving you the ability to have that deeper level of understanding of what others are going through, which then also gives you the better level of understanding of what you're going through, and more acceptance, really acceptance. And to finish answering the question, something that's really, really helpful when it comes to this is seeing suffering, and seeing others and whatever you're going through or others are going through the lenses of non-duality. Because the moment that you are judging good or bad, then that's when we create suffering. So if when I am happy, I am okay with that, and I am great, yay, great, I'm happy, I'm good. And if I am sad and I start to judge myself for being sad, that means that there's a war within me. And then that means that I am projecting that outside. So I like happy people, I don't like sad people, and I'm creating a war in my reality. And then whatever it is that we're creating inside of us and in our own realities, it is having a ripple effect out into the world. So if we are seeing war in the world, it's so important that we continue to heal any wars that exist within us first and foremost, and in our direct environment.
Wow, that was a really powerful answer. And I feel like if there's anyone who's listening to this who's struggling with forgiveness, please listen to that part back because there were so many gems that she just shared with us. Like, please play that back again. So, okay, that was good. Let me integrate that myself because that was really powerful. Okay, so what are some of the things that you do yourself to create a more harmonious mind, body, and soul? What are the things that you do to create balance within yourself?
Um, so body movement, very important. So I do yoga every morning and meditation. And sometimes, if I'm going through something difficult in my life, or I may be having something with relationship or friendship, that there's thoughts everywhere, sometimes I'll sit and my meditation will be literally observing thoughts, and sometimes I'm able to get into that quiet space. So it's committing to practices. For me, it's committing regardless of what's coming up. So moving my body, if it's a slow week, if I'm feeling a little bit more in a low mood, it's yoga. If not, I like going to the gym and lifting weights, and eating healthy. So for me, it's more like of an intuitive eating, but making sure that I'm eating lots of foods of the earth, like the Arcturians like to call fruits and the vegetables, the seeds, the nuts, the things that are of the earth, and really avoiding anything that's in a package and that has lots of numbers and names that we don't understand, because we are getting more and more and more sensitive to those energies, because we are ascending, and as we ascend, our body is ascending fast as well. So that, and the norm, drinking lots of clean water and time in nature. So especially as a channeler, spending time in nature a few times a week, where I'm walking barefoot and I'm lying on the, so I live near the beach, so lying on the sand, going for a swim, putting my head up under the water. I'm very lucky that I live in a place where I have access to beautiful places and connection with other humans. So making sure, especially because I do this work and a lot of the times I'm at home and I'm alone at home, or I have my cat, and making sure that I am connecting with other humans. This one is a huge one. So with my family overseas, and going to places where I'm physically seeing people, so having a community, really, really important, and enjoying this human experience, having fun, going to places where I can dance, where I can connect with others, and sing and doing things that I love.
That was a great answer. I've always been interested how is the weather in Australia? Is it usually like good year long? Is there This is kind of a silly question, but I actually haven't learned that much about that part of the globe. Like I don't know if there's winters or
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So because we are in the southern hemisphere, so like the weather here is quite similar to the weather in Brazil. So south of the country is cold, and then middle it's a little bit hot, and then north is super hot. So they don't really have winter up north. Well, they do, but it's not that cold. So where I live, we don't really get a lot of the cold here. It's not proper winter. So here we said Celsius degrees. So the coldest we get, it's where I live, it's 8 degrees Celsius in winter, and we get about 20, 25. And like right now, today is a very hot day. It's 32 degrees Celsius. So it is still spring, and we're heading on to summer, but it's already like summer. So it's basically about 6 months are really hot, from October to March, where I live. And then from March to or April to September, it's more like cooler, beautiful weather.
I see. Okay, that makes sense because we're getting ready to move into winter now, so the seasons are different. Okay, yeah, because our winter
Mm,
starts in like
yes.
December. It's December to like March is our winter. and
Mm.
there's a lot of snow, and it gets very cold, very fine. Not really, but but okay. All right. So, what are this is about diet. What, and obviously I know it's more subjective for person to person, but is there a common theme of a good diet for people who want to maintain high vibrations, who might want to channel or even just live a high vibratory spiritual state? Is there a good diet from what you've channeled or heard?
Um, First and foremost, the most important one is that you are tuning into your body, your intuition, and bringing through what works best for you, because there is so much information out there. And I have shared this information before about detoxing and juicing and only foods of the earth, which is not really, yes, I still love all of that stuff, but you have to be really careful when you are sharing information about diet. So that's why I say the first thing that people need to do is tap into their intuition and see if that's the right thing for them. um, and it's what I shared earlier about what I do. It's about making sure that you're eating as much foods of the earth as you possibly can, and good quality fruits and juices and vegetables. And if you choose to eat animal products, that if you can find the source of where that's coming from. Local is always best. And some people actually hunt their own animal and they make it sacred. And try not to support, factory farming, those types of things, because it is quite low frequency. Not saying for people not to consume animal products, because a lot of people feel like they still need to consume the animal products. It's just knowing, being conscious. Where's my food coming from? Where's my waste going to? This is so important, because if we do that on an individual level, on a collective level, we are having a huge impact if more and more of us are doing that. So to answer your question, yes, being intuitive and as much foods of the earth as possible, and avoiding all the packaged stuff and the stuff that you read the package, you don't understand what's written on the package, your body doesn't either. So that really helps you to stay in a higher vibrational state. And yeah, you're more tuned in. Instead of your body spending all this time and energy into trying to process what it doesn't recognize, or too many toxins, your body's actually giving you energy to heal and be in a balanced, regulated state. So that, which means that then you can connect deeper with your heart, with your soul, and with your channeling and intuitive gifts and abilities.
Thank you. I love that. That's always a question I ask, because I had a guest who was a vegan, but like a strict vegan for 7 years, and I guess eventually he had issues balancing out his health, and then he started to eat meat and animal products, and I guess his body started to come back to life. So I guess it really is about what your body needs, and it's kind of subjective,
Mm.
and being intuitive to your body. So as we wrap up here, I have these last few questions for someone who's kind of going through that spiritual awakening, and they might feel like they're going crazy. That initial moment where they're having all these downloads and all this intuitive knowledge. How does one stay grounded when that faucet start to turn on? They start to receive and receive and receive. How does one stay grounded and integrate all those energies?
Mm. The first thing is to find what works for them. Because you are receiving so much, meditation could be a little bit tricky. If you can meditate, great. If you can't, no problems. There may be a phase where it could be too much because you're already receiving so much. Moving the body and spending time in nature, grounding. So even if you feel like I'm spending all this time in nature, I'm moving my body, and there's still so much going on, know that if you do that for an extended period of time, it's going to, you will see the results. And also making sure that you have a network support, so community, friends, therapists, healers. And it can sometimes affect the body, so in making sure that you are, and big one, it's actually can bring up trauma that you didn't even know that existed. It can come up to the surface. So finding people that can actually support you to process that and know that there is always um there's always the way out. Like you are going to be, you may be in the caterpillar cocoon, you are eventually going to get to the butterfly state. And there's something that happens that I find it's really important to share, is that if you see it as a negative experience, if you judge it, if you start comparing yourself, all my friends and families, and look at all the people on social media just living the life and building the dream and the success and everything, and here I am, having an ego death, a spiritual awakening. It's accepting fully where you're at, because the more that you resist, whatever you resist persists, and the more that you resist your experience and judge it as negative, that's when it actually, the spiritual awakening can turn into what some call a dark night of the soul, that can go on for a long time. So I believe the dark night of the soul, it, some people say it's the same thing, but I believe that it gets to that point the less we accept what we are going through. If we are able to look at the experience we're having through love and acceptance, and knowing that this is a season that you're on, I am in my winter season, great. Then the the faster you, let's say, shift. And so always letting love be your guiding force rather than fear and judgment.
Beautiful answer. Beautiful. Thank you so much. What is the purpose of life to you? Big question.
To me personally, the purpose of life is to fully experience, and I'm going to double up words here, fully experience this human experience at its fullest. So we chose to be human. So let's make the most of it. And we are a fractal of creator energy. So let's be creative, beautiful, creative humans and make the most of it. Let's dance and play. What is it that we can do with this body? How can we experience life with others? So live a really beautiful, joyful life. So for me, one of the things that the spiritual awakening brought up to the surface is that I was just very, very focused on my mission and saving the world. And that was kind of it. So I kind of forgot a little bit about my friendships and my family, and not having as much fun, not traveling as much. And it has given me the opportunity to change, to really listen to a message the Arcturians have been sharing for a long time, which is make the absolute most of this human experience, because it can end at any time.
Yeah. Wow. That was beautiful. What is your definition of love?
Ah, great question. Love, it's almost like the consciousness question. I believe that love is the purest form of energy that we are able to experience. And I believe that one of our purposes, actually, as humans, we came here, a lot of us have forgotten what love is. And through pain and fear and scarcity, and a lot of pain that we have gone through, past lives, childhood, with what society creates, we are remembering of what true love is. And it is the ability to look at our own self as if we were looking to a beautiful, innocent child, and love unconditionally, and have just the purest form of love for oneself, and allow that to project it out into the world. And it's pure acceptance. It's light, it's abundance, it's so many beautiful things. Even talking about love, I'm like, love.
I love
And
that.
once again, I don't feel like words do justice to explain love. It's another thing that you can tap into your heart and say, "Let's feel love together." Then you feel it.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I was feeling that, but love. And last question, and I have a feeling I know what this will be, but what is your definition of God?
God is creator of all that is. And God is a mixture of my answer of what is consciousness and what is love. So it's God creation, it's all that is. And we are fractals of God having this human experience through consciousness and through love. So it's beautiful how they all intertwine.
Yes, exactly. So do you, for as we wrap up, do you have any last intuitive thoughts to share with the audience? Anything empowering or anything that comes through? Any last thoughts?
I just wanted to share that we are currently being given an opportunity on the planet to truly be a version of us that can change this planet for good once and for all. So if you're listening to this message and you're asking, how can I really support the ascension and evolution of humanity? I invite you to start by doing anything that you can to love yourself so much. Love every single part of you. Love and accept every single part of you. You need to go on a journey of healing and self discovery that's allowing yourself to love, even the past that you have judged, and really creating that wholeness inside of you and ending any wars that reside within you. And then you just watch as your life, your direct life will start to change. And you start to spread this message with others. As you love yourself more, you will be a permission slip for others to love themselves more too and love each other. And then see as this becomes a ripple effect that truly changes this planet. So if you're asking, how can I help this world? Especially at this time right now, there depending where you look, there can be so much pain in the world right now. Know that love yourself. And how is it that you love yourself? Even more is through looking at the thoughts that you're having, and not to guilt trip yourself. If you're having thoughts that are really difficult and you may take you some time, you may need some mindset work, you may need patience, it may take a few weeks to change those thoughts. And then looking at the words that you are speaking to yourself and to others, and then look at the actions that you are taking daily. So look at all of that. How can I change that? And know that by doing so, you are doing a huge part to support your, not only yourself, your loved ones, and also humanity at the highest.
Wow. I know that was like a general thing for the audience, but I really feel like that was for me. Like I really needed to hear that. So thank you so much for that. I thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Where can people find out more about you, reach out to you if they need to contact you? Yeah.
The best place is through my website, so www.rubialacerda.com. I do have social media as well. My name is my first and my last name on Instagram and Facebook.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. I hope that was a very powerful podcast episode as much as it was for me because I appreciate her time and everything that she shared. Please continue to play back certain parts of this podcast because those are great gems. I'm telling you guys. All right. So thank you so much, Rubia. Thank you
Thank
everyone
you.
for listening. Praise the sun. And I'm sending powerful love, light, energy, and healing love vibrations to the planet so we can continue to uplift the planet and raise the vibrations so we can shift into that new earth that we all want deep down inside of us where love exists. Thank you so much. Praise the sun.